It's a beautiful day once again for a podcast with Joe Raptor. How are you, my friend?
Oh. Doing well, doing well. A little tired. It's been a crazy couple of weeks in terms of doing a lot of fun social things in combination with quite some work. Of course, the Summer Game Fest, Aftermath, Elden Ring DLC. I went to Taylor Swift this weekend. Someone got to do it.
You're the guy. You're the guy going.
I was one of the only guys without
That's
a cowboy hat.
wait. There are people that wear cowboy hats in Amsterdam.
No, it was in London.
Oh, you're in
I went
London.
to
Oh,
London.
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, there were still people. I mean, I'm sure that if Taylor Swift is going to Amsterdam, which she will in a few weeks, people will be wearing cowboy hats. And with people, I mostly mean girls. Big cowboy hats, sparkles, glitter on the face, and I have a good time. I mean, my brother invited me. His girlfriend got tickets, like quite a lot, so they were able to sell a few and get like an insane return. So then we could basically go for free. And they're like, I heard crazy things about it. It's a 3.5 hour show, so why not?
Yeah.
We had some pints where we were having a good time, and it kind of flew by. I get the. I mean, I don't get the crazy fans, of course, but they're always crazy fans. But I get why people, like, they try their best to make it at least your money's worth. It's quite a lot of money to go there, but it's like I've never been to a concert that's like 3.5 hours with like as much changes in decor and outfits and dancers and everything. Like, of course, they're going over every era, and yeah, I don't know. It was fun. It was fun. Gotta say.
Oh, and G Mendes asks, were you wearing jean shorts? That's a good question.
I was really underdressed actually. We tried to look it up what like guys should wear, but it was kind of hard to figure that out. And
Yeah.
I still don't know because again, there were only either fathers or like lost guys like we like what the heck.
just there. Just
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
That's funny, dude. That's funny.
yeah.
I didn't do anything that cool. Honestly, I mean, I'm trying to think of one cool thing I did this week.
Wow. Making it hard for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I did have my birthday was on the 17th.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, last week, right?
Yeah, so I had that.
Related birthday. Yeah. What did you do? What did you get?
We went to, for one, my wife got me a big ass like deep tissue massage. That was pretty
Crazy. How long?
pretty good. It was like an 80-minute massage. Like it was a lot. And I mean, I'm still feeling it like over a week later.
Wow.
It was great. So we did that, and then also went to a Brazilian steakhouse. So just all you could eat delicious meats and stuff, and that was amazing. Got to hang out with some
You're
friends.
going for the Double Trouble Steakhouse this month.
Yeah. Well, so
nice.
while we were in Los Angeles, we went to Fogo de Chao before you got there, like the day before you got there. And then
wow,
the day
so
you got there, we went to Fleming's, and that was delicious.
That was crazy. Yeah.
And then for my birthday, we went to this other Brazilian steakhouse. So I've been just loading up on the meat, and it was very, very good. Very, very good.
Very good. Nice.
And honestly, nothing holds a candle to that Fleming's meal we had, but it was very, very good. Very good. No real complaints. As for everything else, I mean, been playing the Elden Ring DLC, having a good time with that. Everybody's been kind of grinding that out, it seems. So the hope is that most of us can get through it. I see Mendez says just got through Mesmer in chat, so congrats to that. It's not for the faint of heart.
People like that. It's a bit easier now with the new update today, where the fragments are giving you more damage resistance and also increase your damage for the first 10.
I guess
that's pretty big.
A question for chat. Anybody, I've not tried it yet today, but if anybody out there has tried it since the update, is it noticeably different if you're past the first few bosses? Because it sounded like it's mainly for those first couple bosses. Like the Dancing Lion is going to be more doable if you get the first few.
From what I understand, and I've toyed around a bit, but not a lot. But like, of course, you get these blessings from these fragments, and like I think 20 is the max, and they made the first 10 just give you like a better increase. Then from 10 to 20, there's not a lot going on. Although 20 is gonna have a bigger increase as well.
Okay,
so that's what they. So it's like kind of like early to mid game to end game. It's like tough. It's still the same kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no, I meant you beat Mesmer. I just entered. Oh. I was like, yeah, no, so I've experimented with a good amount of stuff. I'm going to be going through it in total, probably 2 or 3 times just to experiment because I'm enjoying it. Going through the DLC, like the complaints over difficulty, I think people need to be more specific because so often I'll hear somebody complaining about the difficulty and then you look at their gameplay and they are like trying to just brute force with like a meta build from the base game, you know, just like the bonk builds, or they're brute forcing with magic or something and it's not really working. They're not using summons ever, which I get it. Some people view summons as like easy mode. You don't have to
with
use
these new
summons.
Bosses. It's like crazy.
Yeah, like honestly, the summons were put in by Miyazaki because they thought that it could make more builds more viable. And like, so imagine you have a magic build that has slow casting times. That will not work against 95% of the bosses because they're too fast. Like you just can't get away from them long enough to cast a spell. So using summons, even just like jellyfish or something, just to pull aggro, could make that build viable. But there's a lot of purists that just don't want to hear it at all. So for those people that are making the game intentionally more difficult on themselves, you know, it's harder to feel bad. If you don't want to use mimic tiers because those can be really powerful, I totally get that. But I even saw people that were refusing to use the Shadow Tree fragments to scale themselves up and complaining the DLC was too hard. And it's like,
no, you can't do that.
That's like playing the base game at level 1 and never leveling up and then complaining that Melania is really difficult. It's like, yeah, you didn't level up at all. Like, what are you talking about?
It's like a core mechanic from the DLC. I get it from the look. Of course, I don't think people like really. I mean, the game, of course, doesn't really have the typical tutorials that we see in other games, where in every other DLC it would be like you picked up your first fragment in like a linear section, and it was like, this is really important. And here it's like, if you stumbled upon it, there will be some dialogue about it and stuff, but I think that's probably where it's coming from, where people are just ignoring that or not really focusing on that and then trying all the bosses. But actually, if you do explore, get a ton of fragments, it will be way more manageable.
Yeah.
But people just didn't know that.
Also, I was mentioning this on stream before this. I didn't realize this, and I don't know if it is factually true, but somebody told me that it's not Shadow Tree fragments, it's Old English for shadow. So Skadu is like the Old English way of saying shadow. So apparently it's just like a weird Old English way of saying Shadow Tree, which makes a lot more sense than Skadu Tree. Yeah.
That's why I've been saying fragments. I'm just like, I'm getting away from just fragments. We all know what it is. We all know what it is.
Yeah, I should have done that because I feel like an idiot now having said Skadu Tree. You know, it's just,
yeah.
Damn it. But anyway, so that's happening. I think people are having a good time. And more than anything, you know, it's more Elden Ring, which is exactly what people were hoping for. And it's tough, but like FromSoft DLCs are always very, very difficult.
What do you expect?
Yeah. And if anything, like in my opinion, I did a run of the DLC with summons and stuff. And in my opinion, if you're using summons, the first third of the DLC is pretty easy, especially if you're getting fragments. The second third is about, like, it's solid difficulty. Even with summons, you're going to be struggling. And then the last third, and especially the last boss, it don't matter if you're using summons, everybody's suffering together. And it's the great equalizer, because goddamn that last fight. Oh, like... Jesus. Probably the most difficult fight From Software has ever made. Full stop. That's what I'm saying. No spoilers, but yeah, good God almighty. If you think the early bosses are tough.
Wow.
Like, oh.
Red-Eyed Wolf is saying, but the Dutch word for shadow is pronounced similarly. Schaduw. Schaduw tree? Fragments. Wow.
It all ties together.
But it's not, yeah, you don't write it like that, but that's pretty interesting. Yeah, it was there all along.
It was there all along.
not a true Dutch guy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, welcome everyone to the show, of course. We try to aim to be live every Wednesday. And yeah, there's not a lot of news. You are probably, if you like follow this channel and see that a lot as well. We have some interviews here and there, but apart from that, it's kind of quiet. I do see that I saw that like the guy Jordan Midler from VGC had like a new Black Myth Wukong session and Concord. So there will be, I mean, that's of course the crazy part, that a lot of games are actually, and we're going to discuss that in a moment, are coming out in July and August. So there have to be previews for that. But overall, I'm expecting a kind of quiet July in terms of gaming news. And right now we're seeing that as well. So we thought, let's go over the remaining of the year and kind of talk about all the games that are coming out, what we are thinking about them. We're going to ask you watching what your hype level is. And then maybe do a top 3 at the end. Like, what are our top 3 most anticipated game for the rest of the year? Is that a good idea?
Love it.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, in that case, again, I said July. For some reason, every free-to-play game is like, we're going to go for the July window. And then I'm mostly talking about, like Asian games that are like from Asian developers. So we got The First Descendant. It's like from Nexon. And have you ever heard of this game?
Yeah. We've actually had a number of people come into chat and ask about it, like a surprising number.
Okay.
So I do know some people are watching this pretty closely and are interested. I can put it up on screen right now just so people, in case you want to be like, oh, I remember that.
It was also one of the first Unreal Engine 5 games, I think, that actually was playable back in the, because it has been like in alphas and betas quite a lot, but now it's like coming out on July 2nd, PS5 and PC at the same time. Not sure if it's on Xbox as well, but yeah, it's basically, and that's what we're gonna see with a lot of these games, especially the AAA free-to-play games, because it looks like a AAA game, and it kind of is, but it's like a Outriders type experience with a lot of focus on mobility, but a gacha system. Or at least they have like a focus on characters that you're gonna unlock. So instead of like having a class at the start of the game, you're gonna like pick a character, and then they will of course add more characters post-launch, etc., etc. But it's like a looter shooter, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not my standard cup of tea, but I've been surprised by some of these before where I'm like, it doesn't really look like it's going to be for me. And then I play it and I'm eating it up. So who knows? But it's coming out. That's one to keep an eye on. I don't know. Is that the kind of... Yeah, kind of Warframe-y. Yeah, especially with the different customization stuff that they're doing.
Yeah.
There's also an expansion to Final Fantasy XIV coming out on the same day, July 2nd. And I don't know, are you a Final Fantasy XIV player?
No, I tried it a couple of times, even on PS4, I think, like back when it just came out, and I even tried the first Final Fantasy XIV. Remember that, like, so before they, were like kind of quiet and released The Realm Reborn. No, but I've never been into like that. That's really a game where I'm like, I just don't have the time. This has to be either your lifestyle or why even bother? And I'm kind of like scared of them constantly saying, it's the best story ever, blah, blah, blah. And then, yeah, it does take 50 hours per expansion or whatever. So I don't know. And it also with these types of games, like if you want to start playing now and get to the new expansion, you first have to go through all the old content, which of course makes sense, but that's kind of holding me back as well.
Yeah. It's a big thing with Final Fantasy just in general, is it feels like a lot of the stuff that they'll release looks really good, but then it's just so intimidating to get going that it holds some people back. I think if they could find ways to make games more accessible to jump in, I'd be more inclined to. My buddy Corey plays Final Fantasy 14 online and has tried to get me and some other members of our friend group into it many times through the years, and it's just never really clicked for me. And I'm in a similar boat where I'm like, I just don't really have the time. Like, as much as I personally would love to have a new game that I could just get obsessed with for years, I just can't. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's always
you don't
tough
want to become a Final Fantasy 14 channel. Because that's the only way forward then, if you're touching that game.
I don't know if you've ever had to deal with that, but like, I have friends that will come to me pretty frequently and be like, hey, do you want to like look at this multiplayer game or this co-op game and we can start grinding it and get into the end game and stuff? And I look it up and it's like, 150 hours to complete it. And I have to like try to explain to them, like, yeah, I do gaming for a living, but because I do it for a living, I can't have just one game that I am exclusively playing. Like, it just doesn't work that way. Even if I like that game, even if I would eat it up, that just doesn't really work. Like, I'd be fine with being like a Monster Hunter streamer or gamer or only playing like sim games like Factorio or whatever, Satisfactory and games like that. I love games like that, but I just can't. Have you ever had to like talk your friends down who want you to play games with them and be like, sorry?
They don't bother anymore because I've been like, yeah, sorry, I just can't. And I used to play a lot of League of Legends and World of Warcraft as well, but that was before I was like doing a lot of content. So every so often, and then I'm really talking about like a few times a year or something, I boot up League of Legends. And then I start playing a few games and I just suck because I haven't touched the game in a while and they've like changed everything every time I boot it up. So I'm like, I would like to play with you every now and then, but I just can't keep up like those people. So yeah, it's not for me, and that's why I also, in terms of creating content, prefer to have a few big games a year that we can really dive into, and some smaller like linear story experiences instead of this one game that you will eventually burn out on. And if you then build your channel around that game, yeah, you can have an issue, of course,
right?
If you don't like it anymore.
Yeah.
Another time-consuming game probably, Zenless Zone Zero. That's the third MiHoYo game. They're, of course, trying to infiltrate every genre. They had Genshin Impact, like kind of the open-world action RPG. Then they had Honkai Star Rail, the turn-based strategy game. And now with Zenless Zone Zero, they kind of want a full-on action game.
I've actually tried this one a good amount. They offered to sponsored an I tried video for it, and so I got early access to it, got to try it. And I always appreciate stuff like that. I think people can get a little confused with those sponsored videos, but we always put in the black and white text of the contract, I'm allowed to say whatever I want. Like, legally, they cannot ask me to take out something that I put in the video if I didn't like it, and if there's something. So like, one thing I had a concern with was like enemy variety, because in the sessions that I played, it was pretty samey. The combat wasn't bad or anything. It's just as flashy as you're seeing on screen here, but it is pretty tight arenas and it can get a little bit repetitive. But then again, I only played like an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it was of it. So this is a game that has a lot of long-term content plans, so I would fully expect that it expands a lot as time goes by. But it's super flashy, extremely polished. Like, it's ridiculous how smoothly this thing ran. And it's also one of those games, just like you would expect from Hoyo, that it is very scalable. So it's designed to not just run on like PC or PlayStation 5, but also even on mobile, just like all of the other games that they've put together. It's sort of the ultimate multi-platform is kind of what they're going for. So that's expected to come out. When did we say? July 4th. That's coming. Another one that's coming. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's like on the same page as like the first Ascend, Zenless Zone Zero, and One's Human. Like, that's another AAA free-to-play game. Like, the production value of this is huge. And this is more an open world game where, and I had some survival elements as well. Did you look into this one? Because it has a pretty interesting world. It's a kind of post-apocalyptic world. and you're kind of the scavenger trying to survive. And every sort of open zone has like a huge boss that you can take out. You can build your own base, craft different items, of course, team up with friends. The enemies are pretty wild. They have like a lantern sort of enemy that you can kill and then pick up the lantern, so basically their head, and then use that as like a laser for a short time. So they have some interesting elements. The quests are pretty over the top. Like, you don't really know what you're getting into. But also with this game, and the same for the First Descendant and Senless Zero, these are designed like as free-to-play games to be a time sink. And I do think that with all these games, you will hit a point where it's like you either grind or you pay up. And because, again, these are AAA games, they probably spent easily hundreds of millions of dollars or like $100 million on this game. So they got to get it back somehow. But this is also coming to PC now and then mobile later. So another scalable game. But I'm keeping an eye out. I did think it looks... I at least want to like dip my toes in.
Yeah, no, so Once Human, that's the name of this game. Once Human was at Summer Game Fest. I've also done, they sponsored an I Tried video to also let me try this one early as well. And you're right in your estimation that this seems like it's massive and is designed to kind of consume your life. For some people, that is a sell. For some people, that's like exactly what they wanted to hear. For other people, that's going to be maybe a turnoff, but it's just up to you to decide what clicks for you more or less. But what I will say is it's one of the more unique games like this that I've ever tried. You know, it has little bits where I can feel like they maybe were inspired by like Control. Some of the interior kind of dungeon-like missions that they'll take you on are kind of like that. Then they have other bits where you're fighting these huge, crazy Lovecraftian looking monstrosities, and then it's just very, very unique, and it's an interesting melding of a bunch of different things. So also one to keep an eye on. I'm hopeful to try it again. You know, I'll probably try it again before it fully launches, but one to keep an eye on, because again, it's not often we get a game like this that's just super unique, trying to break into this portion of the industry that's so competitive. Usually they play it much, much safer and more generic.
Yeah, but this is the only way that it got noticed. If it was like another open world survival shooter game, then I would not have cared. But now because of the world, so I think they made a great point. But with all these games like First Ascent and Senless Zero, I mean, Senless Zero, I think has the highest chance of being supported for a long time, because I think even if that game doesn't do that well, they got that like the other MiHoYo games, so they can probably like keep trying. While I'm not sure if that will be the case for the First Ascendant and Once Human. I put the Avatar DLC in there as well. Just a quick shout out. Like I will play it. We'll maybe stream it. Hopefully it's like a few hours, 5 hours or something, and then I can like beat it in one stream or something. That would be fun. But I mean they changed or updated the game quite a lot. So I just want to see how it feels to play right now. They added some new enemies, a new zone to explore. So while I wasn't too high on the base game, I hope that with this DLC they took some, they added some cool things that will actually make it worth our time.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing you can absolutely say is that the game is freakishly beautiful, and they also seem to be expanding on that here with some different stuff. So probably not like 10 out of 10 IGN level quality, but it's still probably going to be interesting if you got some stuff out of the base game. The other one go ahead.
Quickly like look at the chat, because we have a few questions here that are also linked to like the 2024 games. So we have Neo Tokyo saying, any news on Crimson Desert coming out this year? I mean, we have no real info after the Gamescom trailer from last year, but we did hear from some reporters, I think in Korea as well, where Perfect Black Desert, what's the Pearl Abyss sorry, is the name of the company, of course. So Pearl Abyss, it seems like the game is slated for early 2025, and we should hear more at Gamescom. So keep an eye on that, because that, of course, looks very cool. But it's probably not coming out this year. And the Dune MMO, I do think, is coming this year. Actually, maybe like early access or whatever. So
yeah.
But this next one, I hope it's good. There was a demo out for it. Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn.
Yeah, I've seen this around, but I've never really sunk my teeth into it or really done a deep dive of it. Do you know much about it?
Like I've just always thought it looked interesting because of the setting and like it being a new action RPG, also kind of open world. It's coming to Game Pass day one, so I was always like, I'm just gonna like play this game no matter what. It is from A44, and I think that they made like a pretty. What did they do before this? Which like a pretty Ashen. Remember Ashen?
Vaguely.
At like an 8.5 from IGN. I see. Oh, it's like also like a survival kind of Souls-like game. I'm not sure, but yeah, this seems like a more AAA sort of take on that. Yeah, really focused on the action combat. There's quite some progression systems. Again, I think it looks like a pretty interesting world to explore. I'm not so sure on the combat though. It looks kind of stiff in a way, but you have like this, similar to Star Wars Outlaws, so this small companion with you that can help you in combat, but also for traversal. And I mean, I think it looks awesome. I'm always for new IPs like this. I hope it hits, and I think the July 18th date is perfect for it. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's refreshing to get some stuff in July, because like last year there was just basically nothing. So at least we're getting some stuff, because normally after the E3 time, like mid-June, there is just nothing for like a month and a half. So it's nice to get some stuff going. And then we also have this one I'm actually low-key very excited for. And that is Frostpunk 2. Dose. I don't know. Are you into these kinds of games?
No.
Not at all. Yeah, it's not for everybody. These kinds of city sim type games. Come on, why is the resolution so bad? Anyway, these types of sim games are not for everybody, but I eat them up. I love it. I find it so satisfying, and it's just, yeah. I'm very excited. I'm excited for this one, but this is one of those games that, like, I play on my laptop late at night when I'm just looking to decompress. Like, this is one of my guilty pleasure games, and I'm very excited for it. So that's one that's coming, nice. And I think it looks really solid. So here's hoping that it ends up being good.
Yeah, because the first one was really good, right?
Yeah, and I mean, there's just so much in these games too. Like, the replay value is typically off the charts, so I'm hopeful that they also find a way to make that work here too. As for after that, we have, of course,
I mean, people are saying college football. I think that is actually before it, but I didn't put it. I just don't keep track of that. But that is also coming on July 19th.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about that. I actually heard Todd Howard mention it in his Mr. Matty Plays.
Oh, yeah, I heard it too. Yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of a weird random pick for what he's really excited for. But apparently, like, in the US, some people are just crazy into specifically college football. Because there's college football and then like the NFL, which is like the main league. And I don't know, I'm not that into either, but I always just assumed that the NFL was where most of the diehard football fans go. But apparently there's some people that are just specifically super, super hyped for this college version.
Yeah,
of that.
More power to them. It has some cool mascots. That's what I like to see. Apart from that, that's where my knowledge ends.
That's all I got. Well, you do have more knowledge on this next game, Black Myth Wukong.
Probably maybe for the rest of the year, it's going to be the biggest game.
When you say biggest, what do you mean?
Yeah, okay. Because we have Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed. But I still think it's going to be that next Pal World Helldiver situation.
Oh, you do?
Maybe. Yeah, I really think when I see this cross over to the mainstream, there was like someone like coming up to me and they showed like their phone with like a trailer for it. Like, whoa, did you see this game, Black Myth Wukong? It looks amazing. I'm like, you only play Call of Duty and FIFA. Well, why are you interested in this game? And I think they've just done a really good job of every year showcasing a new trailer for this. Even in 2019, I think, when it was clear that this was like a next-gen game, so it was like one of the first next-gen games we saw. And it just continues to look better and better. And it always felt like kind of a dream. Is it really gonna... This is from a studio that we don't really know a lot of. Like, are they really going to, pull it off? And I played it at Gamescom last year at Summer Game Fest. I think there was even like a new demo that a lot of press got to play. Again, there has been an event a few days ago I saw where people got to play like 8 hours. Like, you don't do that if you're not confident in the game, and if it's not gonna hit on that August 20th date. And they seem confident. It just seems like a blast to play. They are saying, while it of course is going to focus a lot on killing all these bosses, it will be quite linear, but it will have some open zones as well. But it will not be... They say it's not a Souls-like. I think these days it's kind of like... It is clearly inspired by the Souls games, but I really think it depends on who you ask what they think a Souls-like is. I am still going to say it is going to be a Souls-like, but it's going to be way more approachable, have different difficulty settings. But it will still be, hey, you die, you go to this bonfire. If you like rest at the bonfire, you get all your health back. I think the enemies reset as well. Like, it has elements like that, but it also has a lot of abilities for your character, which I'm really happy about. It really has that Odyssey ability wheel, and we saw Wukong do some crazy stuff already. So you are really on the same page in terms of power with the bosses. You never feel underpowered, but it still will be very challenging to take them out. But when you do, you get their ability, and it's super awesome.
Yeah, I think it looks great. I hope that it ends up being huge, because I would love for there to be more competition in this realm. And I mean, it just looks so good. I have trouble imagining a world in which this doesn't end up being awesome in its final form, because they've been so transparent with it, letting so many people play it. Like, at this point, it would have to be... I mean, it would be stunning if this doesn't end up being as good as it looks right now. But I think most of this game is probably going to be defined by the connective tissue behind the bosses and between them, because the bosses look great without a doubt. But it's the connective tissue between those encounters that's going to... that's currently still a little bit more unknown. What we have on screen right now, in case you're listening, is a preview from IGN where they played the first 2 hours of it, and they talk a little bit about that connective tissue. But I think this could be a huge hit, or it could end up being kind of like a Lies of P situation where it's successful and people love it, but it kind of drifts away after a week or two, and people just move on to the next thing.
I get that, but I think the amount of hype I've already seen, and if you look at the views on the trailers for this game, and my preview did 600,000 views. Like, there's a lot of hype for it. People are really, really curious, and they all want this to succeed. It just, it looks kind of like, it's like eye candy. It looks really fun to play. It's very, very fluid. And I prefer the more Sekiro playstyle versus what we're now again seeing with Elden Ring, where you're just like, I don't feel like I have full control of my character all the time, or I'm just missing a lot of cool attacks. So this is like basically multiple builds from an Elden Ring combined into one, and I can't wait. I think it's gonna be big, and it's a huge loss for Xbox. Like, how can you 2 years in a row, last year not have Baldur's Gate, and now not have the other big surprise game? Again, I really think it's gonna be like Baldur's Gate.
You think so? You think it's doing like 10 out of 10s across the board?
No, maybe not in terms of reviews, but I do think it will be 8 minimum, and a lot of more people will like it. But I do think it will open a lot of eyes, be like, whoa, I didn't expect this game to be this big.
Yeah. Well, so just in case anybody hadn't heard what Jor's referencing with the Microsoft thing, Microsoft is not getting Black Myth Wukong at launch. So they actually issued a statement. They gave it to Corden and said, quote, "We're excited for the launch of Black Myth Wukong on Series X and S and are working with Game Science to bring the game to our platforms. We can't comment on the deals made by our partners with other platform holders, but we remain focused on making Xbox the best platform for gamers, and great games are at the center of that."
Blah, blah, blah.
Just super, super vague. And it's basically because Game Science confirmed that it's coming out on PC and PlayStation on August 20th. And as for Xbox, there's just nothing. They say, "We apologize for the delay and we aim to minimize the wait for Xbox users. We will announce the release date as soon as it meets our quality standards." So once again, it seems like there is something about the Xbox platform where there is a technical holdback that's preventing them from reaching the same quality standards as they have on PC and PlayStation.
Yeah.
Series
Which
X
is crazy.
or S, whatever.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and again, like, but that is once again, I mean, Baldur's Gate 3, I also don't really get, like, if you're really in tune, like, we knew it was gonna be a great game. Of course, they never expected it to be this big, but Black Myth Wukong, again, I've been, like, following this for years, and I totally think that if they knew about this, like, last year during Gamescom or whatever, they should have put some resources towards it. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
but it's probably harder. Yeah.
There's just, again, there's been a pattern with Xbox of really strange oversights that they really have no excuse in making repeatedly. And it makes you wonder, like, are they just really out of touch? Are the decision makers out of touch with the broader community? But even then, if that's the case, like say maybe Phil or Matt Booty or any of them are just out of touch, that still doesn't explain how everybody else in the company doesn't look at the views and the engagement for a game like this. Like, clearly people are interested in it, and to not have it at launch, like, once again, it furthers the narrative that if you want the best cutting edge, especially graphically, games, you need like a PlayStation 5 or a PC. Xbox is kind of like, well, you'll get it eventually, probably, when they make an exception to not bring it to half their platform. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it comes back to what Matt Booty was saying when they closed the two studios, or I think maybe it was even the Bethesda Dynamax person, that they were spread too thin. Like they just have too much going on, but that's keeps their eye away from the prize. And again, this is going to be a huge miss. I mean, they got Palworld, so that's like a +1 for them. Wasn't there like recently another game where it was like, why is it not on Xbox? I don't know, but this just feels like a really big misstep from their part. But again, maybe it is, even if they threw all their resources, like, according to that statement, seems like they were working or helping Game Science. Maybe it was too late, or maybe, even with the resources that they gave them, it's still very hard to make it run properly on Series S. And that sucks for the Series X people.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why I've done a handful of videos and clips and TikToks and shorts and stuff where we talk about the Series S and how demonstrably it has held back the Xbox platform. I mean, not just Baldur's Gate, but now also Black Myth Wukong, where there is a common thread, which is that the Series S is weak enough that it is holding back these developers from bringing the game to those platforms while maintaining their quality standards. And that is the definition of holding a platform back. Like, it just is. Some people say, well, but I can't afford the Series X. I can only afford the Series S. I totally understand that, and I sympathize with that. But that's a separate question. Whether you can afford this console or that console is a separate issue as to whether this cheaper console is holding back the broader platform. And I just think that it was maybe a short-term, go where they really were hoping that the Series S was going to attract a subset of the gaming populace that needed a more budget option for playing like current gen games. But when that console is holding back current gen games, it's not actually giving them a portal to play those games. It's just holding back all the other multi-platform games. So I really hope for the next generation they don't do a Series S variant or anything. Like, do what PlayStation has done in the past with like the PS4 gen. Release the next Xbox, and then 3 years later, release a Pro variant that's even more powerful and expensive, and then lower the cost of the initial variant.
I still hope they're doing the 2026 new Xbox. I think that would be awesome. So that it will be more powerful than the PS5 Pro, but then when the PS6 comes out, that will be more powerful. And then Xbox comes with their, like, that they are kind of like, that we as the consumer, if you are able to get the newest hardware every time, you always have like the best console. And yeah, that they're basically always the one that comes out later because there's actually years between them instead of launching them in the same year. The one that's the newest will be the best. I hope that they do that because then they can also give the green light to developers. I still think people with the Series S would be disappointed, but yeah, I mean, you are getting the pretty cheap ticket. Of course, at one point they're gonna cut the plug, but like having the 2026 new Xbox saying, okay, this is our new generation, that like gives everyone room to be like, okay, Series S, you're gone.
Oh yeah, and it would just be so fascinating to see what Sony would do if all of a sudden there is like Xbox comes out and has the, without a doubt, most cutting edge tech for like presumably the next year or two, if PlayStation's
probably 2 years,
2028. Yeah. Like that's going to be a big deal, and that really brings into question other things like, okay, does it reverse? Do you start to have multi-platform games being developed primarily for the Series whatever the next Xbox is, and then it's being held back by the PlayStation? Or do they only develop for the PlayStation and then it also comes to Xbox, which has more ceiling? I would imagine probably the latter.
For their own games, it's going to be wild. Like, they can then really be the best platform for Call of Duty because they're making that in-house. So, of course, they're going to apply all the bells and whistles to that better Xbox version.
I agree.
I hope they do it. Yeah. It would be very, very cool. And then they can be like, okay, sure, Elder Scrolls is coming to PlayStation, but if you want the best version on Game Pass, like they would make like a way better case for it even more. So yeah, that's gotta be fascinating. But yeah, Black Myth Wukong 2025 on Xbox probably. I mean, unless. But that's what happened with Baldur's Gate. It was like, oh, it came out. Oh, it's really good. Guys, go to Larian right now. Like, it felt like, what the heck? You didn't see this going? But okay.
Or it's gonna be, they're good. I mean, they might just have to make an exception and be like, Series S, you don't have to release. But even with Baldur's Gate 3, it did release on the Series S, but they didn't have to do split screen co-op.
Yeah.
So if it's just that Black Myth Wukong just can't run on the Series S properly because it doesn't have enough memory or whatever else, that is
less
not
bosses.
Something. Yeah, imagine that. They're just like, you don't get any second phases.
Yeah. That's too much.
Too much.
Yeah, you won't see this attack animation because we just can't render.
We just had to limit. The game is way easier on the Series S. So beyond that, shifting gears a little bit.
We have a super chat, by the way.
Oh, sweet. Sorry, I have all
Blake.
my... Go for it. Read it for me. I don't have it pulled up.
I think one of the issues with the Xbox is many developers don't want to bring their games to Xbox because most Xbox games are not used to buying their games because of Game Pass when they don't have a Game Pass deal. Yeah, I mean, that's the same as having a Netflix subscription and then renting a movie somewhere else. Like, you want everything on Netflix.
Yeah, it's all about framing. And with Xbox, especially like with the Series S, they frame their platform as the platform for budget conscious gamers. So Sony is seen as the premium. So imagine like if you flip it into the phone market, if Sony is Apple with the iPhone, Xbox is trying to do the more like Samsung Android thing. And
Samsung is high end too.
Yeah, Samsung has flagships, but they also have a lot of lower scale, like lower tier models. But if you go like, okay, one is always max price. It's almost like a social symbol to have the latest iPhone when it first comes out. It's really weird, but people are like that. Those people are always going to stick to PlayStation, and they are conditioned to spend $70 on the latest games. Whereas on Xbox, it's more like the Android thing where you have people that are more budget aware, more budget conscious, and they will just wait for it to come to Game Pass, or they'll wait for a deep sale, or they'll wait for this or that and get the games on a bargain. And it's because, yeah, you've built your platform around gamers that don't want to spend full price on stuff. So you shouldn't be surprised when they don't want to spend full price on stuff. You know, it comes with it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fascinating, but that's why I think, again, having that more powerful Xbox in 2026 will make even people like that are hardcore, like even if it's like 5 million people who are like, yeah, I want the best experience, and if on the next Xbox I can play this game 4K 60 or whatever, like GTA 6 or whatever, then they might for one go to Xbox and buy games there. So that might be another incentive that will work in their favor. But yeah, it's not a good look. Only the big AAA games that are not on Game Pass do well, but like that's like Flintlock. If that just launched on the Game Pass or without Game Pass, it would have not done anything on Xbox.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah.
But yeah, we can also talk about free-to-play games or package games that should be free-to-play.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Everybody's favorite Guardians of the Galaxy Overwatch ripoff is also coming very soon in August. Concord. This game I cannot wait to cover in more detail because it might end up being amazing, but probably will end up being exactly what it looks like. It's just, it screams game made by committee. It screams Jim Ryan. It's just transparent what they're trying to do here. And
he's one of the characters, by the way, Jim Ryan.
Oh, the robot?
Yeah. He's in the robot.
Yeah,
Jim
like
Ryan's spirit.
There's some things like, you know, honestly, the graphics. The graphics look really good. It's probably one of the better looking live service shooters that we've seen.
Is it 30 FPS though? That's what I worry about. I don't think the trailers were in 60.
Let me stats for nerds. Where is it? It says current optimal res at 60. So
oh yeah, okay. 4K 60 is the trailer as well. Okay.
So
it just looked like kind of Destiny PS4. So it looked like kind of slow.
I think they're doing a lot with post-processing effects and stuff.
Yeah.
My fear with that would be that post-processing stuff is really easy to turn off to get better performance. So it might look really good in this trailer, but it would be really easy for them to make the smoke look way worse before launch to stabilize the frame rate and stuff. So whenever I see a game that looks really good because of a lot of post-processing effects, just buckle up, because a lot of the time in the final release, a lot of those bells and whistles are removed. But yeah, like the gameplay looks fine, but again, like for a game like this, you can't have fine. A game like this has to be phenomenal. It has to be so good that you win over Overwatch players, you win over all of their friends, and you have such a steady stream of content that they never want to play anything else again. So this becomes their new normal. And with Overwatch, like, you're basically going up against a game that has a 10-year legacy and history of building a fan base. Like, that's not easy to just casually overcome, but they're gonna try.
Yeah, you have to convince your friends to all spend $40 on this game.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're totally going to do what Rainbow Six Siege, I think, did when it came out, like the buddy passes. The Extraction game did it. Rainbow Six Extraction did it. With like, here you buy the game, you get 2 buddy passes, or so people can play like for 7 days. I think they should do something like that, but they haven't yet. Again, I'm really curious to hear what the hands-on people said. There will be a beta in like a month, but I saw that Marvel Rivals had their beta, I think, announced for around the same time. Like, that's of course another Overwatch type game with like way more famous characters, and it is free to play. So I really don't see what the plan here is, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, the choice to come out at $40 is, I just, like, it screams that they kind of are braced for this maybe not to have many legs on it. Like, it's probably going to get cut down pretty quick. And so they're like, let's just get whatever cash we can get, and then
I think they're gonna do PS Plus like early next year or something.
Yeah.
And then give like the people that bought it a sort of thank you pack or whatever, and then hopefully get a second life for the game, but it will then still die out.
Yeah.
That's my prediction.
That's the vibe I'm getting as well. Like Suicide Squad, they released at 70, and that was even more aggressive. And they still, I mean, what's crazy is they still probably took in like somewhere between 40 and 60 million dollars from all of those people that bought the game for early access and stuff.
But that game had like a single player campaign and like it had way more going for it, I feel, in this.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
But
it's of course kind of a different type of game. It's like not very comparable.
I just think like charging for a 5v5 is really weird. It's just really weird. Especially in the modern day. Like if this was 2014, 15 again, okay, like maybe it's more tolerable, but nowadays.
And for Helldivers, it made sense. They probably are looking at that and being like, hey, that worked. But that like there's nothing like Helldivers, and this is everywhere. And it makes sense that Sony wants their own game like it. They would be stupid now that Microsoft has Blizzard to not want to try it. But then go get aggressive, right? Go be free to play, and make, I don't know, add a character from freaking like a PlayStation character, like make it more appealing than this band of nomads. Like you don't know who anyone. It doesn't care. It's like really AI generated characters. It feels like it's like what is this? And then they made this cinematic trailer that was trying to be funny. It really like hits all the wrong notes for me.
Yeah, and what was so funny, just like Trevor in chat says, it's so crazy because the game actually looked good or interesting until they said 5v5 shooter. And that's the thing. In that showcase, they spent the first like 10-15 minutes talking about Concord, and the first thing they did was show the cinematic trailer. People got really excited, and people were like, oh, this actually looks pretty good. And then the game director goes, we're here excited to show you our new 5v5 hero shooter. And immediately the chat is just wrong. Just done. So I it's clear that this game is not being put together just because like they think that these are the best ideas possible, but it's because there's a lot of corporate intervention as well. Maybe it ends up being really good, but
I hope that when we get to play it, we were like, oh my god, this is actually really good. But I still think it will be a tough hill to climb unless every streamer and their mom like goes to play it, and then but that's like the best case scenario for this game. And I don't know, they have to spend some dollars to get streamers, I think, to play it, and then
even then, like
around.
We saw that thing with Suicide Squad where they paid Shroud, Dr. Lupo, and what's his name, Tarek, something like that. Sure. They paid 3 big streamers from the world of like Valorant mostly to come in, Valorant and CSGO, to come in and play Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that's also what I didn't understand. But.
Yeah, and they played it for like 2-3 hours for that sponsored stream, and then they never touched it again. I don't think any of them played it at launch. Maybe they did, but I never saw it. No. And you can only sponsor streamers to play your game for so long before the audience starts to go, bro, this is boring. Can you go back to Call of Duty or Valorant? And at that point, you're just done. If the gamers aren't
that's what Apex Legends did very well. Like they of course released, nobody saw it coming. All the streamers were playing it for I think 3 hours. EA paid, but they kept playing because they actually really liked it.
Yeah.
Which is great. But yeah, let's go a bit quicker. Visions of Mana. It's like a smaller Square Enix type game, of course. Looks pretty good. And then we got Star Wars Outlaws on August 30th, of course. Get the Ultimate Edition now. Play 3 days early.
You heard it here first from Joy Raptor. Everyone clip it.
I made my video. I kind of was like, I'm not completely sold yet on the stuff that I played. Like I think the sort of I think we talked about it before, right? The Ubisoft Forward looked very cool. This is what a session in Star Wars Outlaws looked like, and what we played was like, yeah, we're trying to be Uncharted and look at this linear level. Like it was really similar to other single player Star Wars games. Well, I'm like, yo, you're the first open world Star Wars game. That's what you're like boasting about. Why can I not ride my speeder around on this planet. Like, I want to see what's out there. And so like, so far we've heard the right stuff about the things that we did not play, and what we played was fine. I thought the stealth, like seeing Assassin's Creed Shadows introducing some fun Splinter Cell stealth mechanics and really trying to kind of improve what the basic Ubisoft stealth is, to then play Star Wars Outlaws and you're like, yeah, we're doing it again. We're sneaking up to this guy. I'm knocking him out. Oh, we have Nyx. Oh, Nyx, go distract. Oh, then the guy turns around. Oh, then again. Like, it wasn't that exciting or something. And the shooting felt great, but is the blaster enough? We have a blaster with 3 modes. You can pick up other weapons, but you throw them away if you use them. I'm still not 100% convinced that the game around the immersive Star Wars experience, which I think they're nailing, it looks very polished, but I just want to see the cool things about this game. I want to see this faction system where you can screw them over and they will send like squads after you to hunt you down. What does the wanted system actually feel like, right? I want to experience that, and we just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I think they do have a little bit more to show, but it's been pretty impressive that it's not just coming off as super generic Star Wars game once again. So that's refreshing, but you know, time will tell if they can pull it together. My wife's calling me real quick. I'll just pick this up.
Sure.
I'll let you take over.
Yeah. I see some people say as well, which is more interesting, Outlaws or AC Shadows. Like, it's of course, like, I prefer Assassin's Creed, but I still think that Star Wars Outlaws, and I really hope, where Avatar did not really, I mean, they also nailed the immersion in that game, but they had a lot of systems like the crafting, and like, it had a lot of like fluff that I did not really care for. The story wasn't really there. And like Star Wars Outlaws, with the fact that you actually make choices that have an impact on things, the urban environments that you get to explore, I just like the Star Wars universe a bit more. So I really have way more higher hopes for that game. Again, in terms of like the just like with the with Avatar, the not Frostbite, but what's the Division? Snowdrop engine. Like, that's of course an insane engine what they got going, and being able to fly from orbit to the planet and not having a loading screen, or of course there's kind of a loading screen, but you're not taken out of the experience. I think it's really cool. So I can't wait to play it. I just hope that all the systems are working well together. Swordfish asking, Raptor, did you get to play the Astro Bot hands-on preview demo? That's like a nice segue to Astro Bot that is of course coming a week after Star Wars Outlaws on September 6th. I played it, and it's insane. It's how good that game is. I got to play only 1 planet, 5 levels, and the first 3 levels were kind of what you expect from Astro's Playroom as well. I did get like a cool sort of gadget or ability in each level. So for one, it was that dog that you saw in the trailer as well, and with the dog you could like charge, so you could like do a dash, and you could use that to nuke out enemies, but also to, for example, jump, dash, so you could like reach further distances. I had like these sort of arms that had like an extended range, kind of like arms from the Nintendo Switch, if you remember that. And it was fun to use against the boss, so I played like a boss battle as well. And like, those were not all that hard, but then I got to play the 4th and 5th planet, and these were like challenging levels. So I was like, okay, it's pretty easy. What about these other like planets? And in those planets, you have one like overall Astro. When Astro gets hit, it's over. You're done. But there are multiple checkpoints in the level, so you go back to that checkpoint. And with like that level, there was only one checkpoint, which was at the start of the level, and it got like increasingly more difficult. So you really had to make sure that you mastered this smaller planet and get to the end without getting hit once. So you were constantly like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to use all the items that I'm seeing here? Which is very, very cool. And yeah, I had a ton of fun with Astro Bot. I really think it's gonna be a Game of the Year nominee easily.
I think so too. I get the vibe that it's going to be basically Sony's Mario, which I think is awesome. Yeah. And if anything, like, I know you're a fan of Horizon. I think Astro Bot would be a much better mascot long term than like an Aloy or even like a Kratos or an Ellie. Like everybody loves Astro. Everybody. It's awesome. It's so cute. It's fun. Anybody who plays that eats it up. Whereas Aloy, people are like, she looks like a wax figure that's melting.
The thing about Astro, it's kind of like a Ditto. It like transforms into every PlayStation thing there is.
And it's adorable.
And so, yeah, but it doesn't really have its own identity. And I think Horizon, like, sure, Aloy might not be it, but it is the tall neck. It is the Thunderjaw. It is that world, right? That they can do so much with. And I think it's way more scalable. You can make a Lego game for the kids. You can make a more serious adventure for people like us. And yeah, they so far seem to be nailing it for both. Yeah. So I mean, I get like, I know what I said.
Oh man, no, Aloy's fine. I just think her games are okay. They're just not on the level that I feel they treat them as, if that makes sense. But yeah, Astro Bot, that's one I think people are gonna eat up. I totally agree. One that I'm gonna eat up, gobble, is Space Marine 2 Warhammer. Yeah,
that's a chainsaw. Yeah,
that's the sound I'm gonna be making too.
Okay.
Yeah, this one, oh baby, it looks great. I got to play it at Summer Game Fest for like 45 minutes. I think it was only supposed to be a 30-minute demo, but they just let me keep playing.
Wow.
So I didn't say anything. They didn't say anything.
I'll let this guy with the Warhammer 40k shirt like just keep going.
Yeah. So I was playing it. Jake Baldino's hanging out with us and like looking at the screen, checking it out and stuff. It was a good time, but it plays very much like the first game. I mean, it plays like an Xbox 360 sort of Gears of War inspired horde shooter in a lot of ways. It gets a little repetitive, but I think it's just good raw fun. And we only played, like I said, less than an hour, so we didn't get to see a whole lot of enemy variety or other stuff. That's one place where I could see this game maybe struggling, is just shaking it up, because shooting waves and waves of Tyranids is fine, but it can get old. And we've seen clips where they show some like Chaos Space Marines and some Thousand Suns, like Terminators and stuff, or Rubric Marines. And my hope is that we get to see, or that they space those out really well and that the variety is pretty good. Because so far in most of the gameplay footage we've seen, it's a lot of just waves of Tyranids. They've shown some like more brute class enemies and mini bosses and stuff, but I would guess that this is one of those like 8 out of 10 games. It's a really good time. And if you're a Space Marine, or rather a Warhammer fan, it's probably a +1. It's probably like a 9 out of 10 for you based on what I've seen.
And if you play with friends, it's probably more fun as well, because they of course are adding co-op. So I mean, I think it just looks very good. Like it just looks like what I remember the first Gears of War in my memory looking like. That was like super. Oh my god, they are really nailing that. That feel. And yeah, I don't know. It's just cool that you're like this huge tanky character fighting. It's kind of Doom vibes in a way.
Yeah, and they did a really good job of also establishing it in the like world that all of the little guys you see are normal sized humans. I mean, Space Marines are like crazy genetically modified superhumans. I mean, they're crazy. And you get that vibe from seeing all the regular soldiers around you looking up to you and just like in awe. Oh, it's an elite. Oh my God. And everybody's stunned to actually be able to see one of you in real life. So they do a really good job with that. My only concern is with repetition and enemy variety. I'm sure that was like the first thing they thought of as well. And they've delayed this a lot by like a year to really polish it up. And so my hope is that it lives up to the hype, and that people eat it up as much as I was eating it up during the demo. So
awesome.
We'll see. That's a good one.
I hope so too. Harry Potter's Quidditch Champions is also coming, so Quidditch PvP game. Stalker 2, I think you discussed this like recently as well, right? And we, I think, both touched on the fact that the trailers look great. We played it though. I played it last year, you at Summer Game Fest. Yeah, I hope that's not the final version, or I hope they still like have a polished build somewhere that they're secretly keeping. I don't know.
I got mass downvoted. Like, people came in, they shared it on like the subreddit, and they were very upset that I said it was the worst thing I played at Summer Game Fest. But literally everybody I spoke to who played it, at least when they spoke to me at Summer Game Fest, I don't know what they said in their final videos, but everybody who played it that I spoke to said it was like the most disappointing and worst thing that they played there. So
yeah, it's so weird how that trailer seems from a different game. Seriously, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know how to phrase it to people other than that. What we played is nothing like that trailer. Like, that trailer from Xbox at their showcase looked awesome.
That's like a concept. Like, we want this to be the game in a few years, but now we have this bare bones version of it. I don't know, man.
Yeah, and somebody came in chat earlier today and was like, why are you hating on Stalker 2? I was like, I'm not hating on it. I'm just telling you what we played was bad. I played it. You did not. And I'm telling you what I played was bad. Like,
so I hope they delay it because, I mean, if September 5th, also a pretty crowded time. Xbox, Xbox, of course, has a pretty, like, move it to, like, January. Like, get those final polish or maybe a full year. I don't know, man. But I totally get why people are looking forward to it, because it is a very cool concept and the world is really cool. But, like, you want this to be a Metro type quality experience, but it just doesn't seem to be there, sadly.
Yeah. Oh, Rafter Man. I actually did unironically hear somebody say this. You just don't understand Stalker, man. It's supposed to be shit. Yeah. Some people were commenting. They're like, yeah, the fact that like the visual elements don't line up with the audio elements and the gameplay's confusing, it's supposed to be like that, man. That's Stalker. I was like, okay, so it's supposed to be bad is what you're saying. Like, what are you even talking about?
I mean, that trailer didn't look like what people are describing that Stalker should be. So that's weird. Why aren't they showing the real game? Like,
yeah, I'm telling you guys, I want Stalker to be good. What we played is nothing like those trailers that they've released. No. Like, it's nothing like the Xbox trailer. I hope the final game is like that trailer, and we're just playing like old demos that they had like laying around.
That's weird. But that makes no sense. That's scoping, I feel.
I agree. I don't know how you could argue that, okay, our trailer looks awesome, but let's give media access to the game, but way worse than that trailer.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. What's more likely, that maybe this is some grand plan to lower expectations with media, but the game is actually amazing like we see in the trailers, and then everybody's amazed when the game comes out and it's fantastic?
That also makes no sense.
Or is it more likely that the trailer looks good and the actual game doesn't live up to the trailer, which is something we see all the time? I think one.
I mean, it has been getting better, I feel. I mean, for example, Suicide Squad, they were not hiding a lot of things. They were just showing, like, they were trying to show other parts of the game, but they were not hiding things, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It was not an Anthem situation where like that first trailer was insane.
Yeah. That first trailer was wild. I mean, that first trailer for Anthem was
I watched that. I was at the Xbox conference and I was like, whoa, this is amazing. But that was like when Destiny was like at its high as well. People were like, I'm ready for more. Division kind of died down. Mm-hmm. BioWare's back.
BioWare's back, baby. Andromeda was a fluke.
Yeah.
Oops.
This is the real BioWare, not the B team.
Oh, God.
Okay, God of War Ragnarok is coming to PC on September 19th, so that will be fun for the PC folks. That's pretty quick, so that's good.
Important to note, it does require a PlayStation Network account, even though it does not have online stuff.
I mean, just make an account. If you want to freaking buy concert tickets, you get a Ticketmaster account. If you go to freaking Walmart and you want some credits, you get a Walmart account. Don't be a baby.
Don't be a baby. I agree. It's, for me personally, not a big deal. I mean, you make an account. I make 15 accounts a day, it seems like. But there are people around the world that if you're in a country where you can't sign up for a PlayStation Network account, you will not be able to play this through Steam, which is a little stupid.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
Move out of
it. Jesus. Just move. It's like back in the day with Xbox when somebody asked them, you can't play this without an online internet connection. So what should you say to the armed forces serving the United States military overseas that want to play Call of Duty or FIFA or Madden? And the Xbox head is like, well, it's not for everybody. They could get a 360. Jesus.
Yeah, we have 360 for that.
Yeah.
And Jeff Keeler was like, so you're saying everyone to just buy a 360 if they can't have an internet connection? It's like, yeah. It's like with a straight face. Oh my god.
That's a bold recommendation.
That's like like Sony had one of those moments with PS3. Like, it's super expensive. Like, get a second job. That's what.
Figure it out. Not my problem. Persona 3 Reload. We'll kind of blast through these.
Getting a DLC in September.
Yeah, they're getting DLC. Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred expansion coming October 8th. We'll see what that's like. Dragon Ball Sparking ! 0 is coming.
I know people are hyped for this, and every time there's like a state of play or whatever, and we're like reacting to it, and I just don't know what's happening. I'm not a Dragon Ball person, but I'm fine. I'm happy that people are what seems like rooting for the same game over and over, because it kind of feels like a sports game to me. But again, I know that with the sports games there are also changes that I'm just not seeing, and that's probably here as well.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat.
Metaphor Refantasio, I think it's called, right?
No idea.
Looks cool. It's from the Persona makers, of course, but they're going for a more medieval.
That one. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize the name.
No, I'm not sure. I don't think it's coming to Game Pass, but I totally think like, there are going to be a lot of people, or probably 1 million people, who are like, this looks like my type of game, and they're gonna probably bang the drum for Game of the Year. Like, that's probably what's gonna happen. It really looks like Persona, but hey, you have a sword and you're in this more medieval times, and medieval fantasy world. It has more, it has the same turn-based combat, a light social system where you can like get relationships, get intimate with party members outside of combat.
Yeah, baby. Okay, Black Ops 6, October 25th. That's a thing.
I mean, I'm just gonna be more fascinated about what it does for Xbox and the Game Pass situation than actually play the game. Because I hope by that point we might have a Japan holiday to go to, but we will see. Sonic X Shadows Generations, or did you want to say something about Call of Duty?
No, I ran out of stuff to say about Call of Duty years ago. So,
I mean, they have the like one of the new features that you can now run to the right and to the left.
That is
without
true.
like physically moving your. It's like insane. So, oh my god, I know it's a big deal, but it's like it's such a funny thing if you like tell that to someone who is like, "What is new in this year's Call of Duty?" Yeah, you can run to right and to the left. Sonic X Shadows Generations, for those Sonic fans, go get him. Life is Strange Double Exposure. I have like a weak spot for Life is Strange, even though I did not really like the most recent one. But this one, of course, goes back to the characters from 1 and Before the Storm, and they're doing a pretty interesting thing, kind of what Respawn did with their single player, where they have like 2 different worlds where you can like, and they're in the.
Seems interesting.
I hope it's good.
I also like Life is Strange. I mean, but I'm in the same boat where the most recent one didn't really connect with me. My wife played it; she thought it was fine. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with this one.
Like fine. It had some like the D&D level was pretty fun, but it just didn't have the. Yeah. Oh my god! Like that's what you really saw that it was not in that episodic structure, where it really felt like the first Life is Strange that I really liked was really trying to make you care and hold on to the game for the next episode, and this game did not have that. So
it was very meandering. It just kind of floated. Silent Hill 2 is coming November 8th, as is Slitterhead. And
you know what that is?
Yeah, that's the really bizarre looking one. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, it gives me oh crap, what was it called? It gives me the vibes of some games like Ghostwire Tokyo and other games where I'm like, I can see why somebody would be really into it, but I'm not getting what the hook is. Like, to me, I see this, I'm like, that's weird anyway, and I go on to the next thing. I just don't see what the hook is that makes me want to play it, you know?
I think the concept is cool. Like you're this like sort of ghost or something, and you're going to different like NPCs, and then you control them until their blood runs out, and then you fight enemies. I think it looked pretty cool. But yeah, then we have Assassin's Creed Shadows, of course, November 15th, but also here, get the Ultimate Edition, plays 3 days early right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what can we say? I mean, we did not really touch on it last episode about I saw some comments about that because we kind of ran late, just like we're kind of doing here. But I mean, we of course made videos on it as well. You did like a deep dive as well. Where I saw you pretending to do parkour, which was kind of funny.
Oh yeah.
So
pretending? I did parkour. Yeah.
You mean like?
Yeah. No. I think the game. What was really interesting is going to Summer Game Fest and trying Star Wars Outlaws and then seeing AC Shadows. I left more, I think, generally impressed by Star Wars Outlaws than I did for Shadows. What we saw for Shadows looked good. Like, okay, they revamped some of this. They've got some cool interactability, but Shadows visually, for example, for me felt like a small iterative improvement over Valhalla, but nothing like that crazy. I was hoping for a bigger leap. I was hoping for this to feel next generation Assassin's Creed, and instead it just feels like maybe it could be cross-generational itself. Like, I know it probably can't be, but for reasons we haven't seen yet, but it just feels that way. And so I'm waiting to see how these things tie together. I want to see what the open world is like, because what they showed off was mostly just the clearing the fort and then going after the target. And the main thing I want to see is the weather systems in action, because that's kind of the big selling point, it seems. So
yeah, I think like what we always see with these big Ubisoft games is that when they show them during the summer, especially if they come out in like November, sometimes they're like early October, but when it's like November, then there still needs a lot like a polish to be done. And comparing it to Star Wars Outlaws, which is probably ready already, right? They just don't want to launch it in July, which makes sense. That they're going for this end of August when people are not on a holiday and have some more money to spend on video games. That makes sense. So I'm just like kind of I think just the features they showed, like Naue looks like a ton of fun to play. Finally having cool new ways to approach a camp. I'm still not sold on Yasuke's combat though. Yeah. Especially what we saw behind closed doors felt very one-dimensional. If this is what playing as him will be like, basically you go into a camp, it's not guns blazing, but like you have your weapon out and everyone will immediately see you. You cannot sneak around if you want to, so your options are kind of limited. You're breaking through doors, and then the next enemies will be alerted. Kill that group, move to the next room, new enemies are alerted. But I hope there's more to it, because I'm not sure if the combat from an Assassin's Creed game can carry the sort of more hack and slash type level design that will have, where of course you're fighting waves of enemies, but you have combos in a DMC or whatever, which makes it fun. So I'm not. I think we have to see like what the open world will be like, because if you like go into a camp and are Yasuke, can you then sneak in the tall grass and whatever and try and do stuff like that? I'm just also kind of disappointed, and that was kind of like I called it engagement bait for like I know when I said that it would trigger some people, but for me, when they kind of announced Assassin's Creed Shadows and just them saying, hey, we're going, we know there are a lot of different types of Assassin's Creed players right now, and we have the Assassin's Creed Odyssey team, Quebec, focus on an RPG right now, so they will be spearheading that, and they won't be afraid to do an RPG. And then for people who don't like the RPGs, well, don't worry, with Hexe, which is going to be a new experience. We have the Mirage team who's going for the more old school experience. We have the PvP, multiplayer, whatever. But them, for Shadows, not really being an RPG, like there are no damage numbers. And I know for an Assassin's Creed game in general, that's like a weird thing to say, but that was kind of like important if you want to show some depth. Like, at least let me turn them on, but they were not even clear if that was going to happen. We did not see any loot. We did not see any different outfits for these characters. It really gives me the Valhalla vibes, where those elements are just afterthoughts. They're like, oh yeah, we are an RPG. We have to make a lot of gear sets. Let's throw them in. We made the design. What is a fun perk? Oh, during night, you deal 10% more damage. Like, that's no fun. Like, where's the sort of creativity there that Odyssey did have, especially with the legendary items. So I just need to see more. And like you said, the moment Yasuke was riding into the camp, I was like, awesome. It looks great. I like the setting, but it is Valhalla. Like it is not this oh my god Unity moment, right? Where like, is this really happening? And I think they're making up for it in scale. I do think, and I hope that just like in Odyssey, seeing Athens in the distance for the first time will be kind of awesome. Or in Odyssey or in Origins, you also were like riding around seeing a pyramid in distance. I hope it will have that like sort of beauty to it.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that they can show off more of the world in the future, because again, the team that did Odyssey, they know what they're doing when it comes to building something big, and we just haven't seen that scale yet. So I'm trying to hold out till we see some more of that stuff, because as of right now, it's just we haven't. And so it's easy to just gauge the game off of what we've seen so far and be like, yeah, so it's really kind of I'm not seeing a whole lot, because we haven't seen a whole lot, but the hope is over the next 6 months we'll see a lot more, because they've got a long runway on this thing to land it. So we'll see what that's like.
Yeah, 100%.
Moving forward, other things, we've got Microsoft Flight Simulator late November. Other things that are still kind of waiting on release dates: the Starfield Shattered Space DLC, of course. September is the expected window according to leaks.
But I think it's probably later if they did not announce it yet, right?
I would think so.
Or maybe they wanted to wait for other release dates. But end of September would be perfect. Then you're just before the Diablo DLC, which of course now also for Microsoft. Dragon Age, fall 2024. I am still afraid that it's gonna be November as well. That also feels like they just want to hit that holiday window. I mean, the demo we saw felt very polished, and I think they said, at least in my demo, that they were basically done. Everything was working in the game.
Yeah,
they just are polishing things up. So I really think we will have a big blowout, maybe at Gamescom, where they're like, "Yo, it's out in October" or something. Like, it's out very fast. But I'm afraid that it will be around Assassin's Creed Shadows, so in November.
Yeah, I think if they, considering what they're trying to do, I think October makes way more sense. So we'll see if that happens.
I hope so too. Yeah.
Until Dawn, sometime in the fall, that'll be, obviously
Halloween
is the kind of target.
They're saying still for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 a fall, but that's too quiet, man. And that game, of course, had a tough period.
Mm-hmm. Ashfall, I don't really know much about Ashfall. Do you?
I think it's from the it's like a NetEase game. Also kind of Outriders vibes. Also a mobile. It's like it's similar to Once Human type experience.
We have Avowed coming, expected probably around November. That it's fine. I mean, the Xbox has a good amount of stuff that they're going to be kind of, I think, staggering. If they do Shattered Space September, they have the Diablo expansion. After that,
in October.
Call of Duty. They've got this.
Avowed in November, Flight Simulator in November, and then maybe Indiana Jones in December. Like, that would be perfect.
Yeah. So it seems like they're going to have just a steady drip of stuff for the rest of this year, which is what they've needed. So there's that. Lego Horizon Adventures, Game of the Year, I'm sure.
Yeah, 100%. It's only 7 to 8 hours, so I was kind of shocked when I heard that.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to probably try and finish that in one sitting. That would be fun.
Yeah. So that's the thing.
But it was fun. That does feel like a tail end of the year, though. That they were kind of coming in hot with that build, and what we played was kind of nice, but it still felt like they still have some work cut out for them. So I think that's gonna be like a Black Friday type release.
Yeah, probably. I would imagine so. Batman Arkham Shadow. That's the game everybody's excited about.
Not have VR headsets.
Yeah, don't you all have VR headsets? Yeah, so that we still haven't seen any gameplay. We still don't know what the game actually looks like. We've only seen cinematic trailers and stuff.
Red flag.
Red flag. Thank you. I don't know why they would. Like, we know it's a VR game. Just show us what the game looks like. But they're so coy with it. It worries me. Lost Records, Bloom and Rage. is a thing. Path of Exile 2, lots of people are super excited for that. That's one, if you want to know life it, that's a game to do it to. Lots there. Beyond Good and Evil 20.
I made this list before it was announced and already released. So that's already out, the 20th anniversary edition.
Boom. Done. Well, you know what isn't out and released? Hollow Knight Silk Song. That's also not there. Do you think we get that?
I mean, if they still want to win Game of the Year, they have to drop it this year. Then they still have a chance. I don't know, man. I don't think anyone should make predictions based on this. Like, they probably don't even know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really weird. There's something off with that. Killing Floor 3, TBA, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. They've doubled down on that being this year, so I'm confident it'll be this year. I think they're also just waiting.
I think October makes a lot of sense for that. Yeah, and then Gamescom, which of course they're from Europe as well, right?
So I think they announce it sometime in there. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater also sometime. I mean, October
might be 2025, but might get pushed now that like we all thought Silent Hill was gonna launch before it, and that is in November. So I think maybe they're going for like February or something with Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, which might not be a bad idea. Just give it a little breathing room.
Yeah.
Mina the Hollower replaced. I will say was genuinely surprisingly good at SGF.
Nice. It looks awesome.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. The ambience is great. I think if you liked games like honestly Disco Elysium, I think you'll really like that. It's got that same kind of vibe to it. So that one's
not like narrative heavy, or is it?
It's not as crushingly depressing, but it is like the world building's really good. The music's really good. You hop in and 30 minutes will go by like that. You just get so immersed in it. It's really, really well done.
Yeah. We have the Outsider Jess saying that Warhorse released the best announced trailer. I thought the Gamescom trailer was really good too. Like, they're really showing this game off properly, and I think it's gonna be a big, a fun, good hit for them on Steam.
I agree. I just hope that it's a bit more polished, because the first game, it was well known, like, the game's good, but woof, it's pretty rough around the edges. So hopefully they've polished it up. That's my hope. The Wolf Among Us 2, Towerborn, Valorant on console, World of Warcraft, The War Within, all that stuff is also coming eventually.
Yeah, PS5 Pro, people holding out hope. Like, Sony usually does a state of play in September, also around Tokyo Game Show. Usually, or at least PS4 Pro was announced in September, then launched, of course, in November. I really hope, and a lot of people are fingers crossed, especially after that Xbox show, that PlayStation will do a big event in September. So instead of they did of course not a showcase in their May-June window. So I totally think you have to show people, hey, you're gonna buy this more expensive console. I think it's gonna be $700, gonna be $699 or something. It's gonna be something crazy like that.
I think if they're, I think so too. The fact that they already have this other SKU for the detachable drive and everything, I would imagine they go more premium. They might even push it to $799 and just full on go balls to the walls.
Yeah, but then they have to show some games. Then they have to be here's the new Naughty Dog IP running on PS5 Pro. This is why you need it, because but it makes sense, because they are not if you want to buy a PlayStation 5 right now, it is still it's still $500 easily.
Yeah. Well, and I don't see a world where they could announce a PS5 Pro and only show here's God of War Ragnarok. We promise it's running at a higher resolution, even though you can't really tell in this trailer.
Death Stranding too. Yeah, look at this.
It'll still look good, but I think they need that game that's just so impressive. It'll still probably look great on PS5, but if they announce the next Naughty Dog game or something on the PS5 Pro and all the marketing is only on the PS5 Pro, I think that's how you do it. I think that's how you get people to get excited and buy it.
Yeah.
Even if that game is a year or two away, just to see it. So and they have stuff. They have studios that are sitting on something.
They have a ton of stuff, but they're really like we saw with the State of Play. Astro Bot, Concord launching 2 months after that State of Play. That's just their new tactic. They don't want, they know people have no attention spans. But for for like a, hey, yo, invest in this super expensive console, then you want to know what's gonna happen in the next basically what's gonna happen in the final 3 years of the PS5, because that's what's gonna happen starting in 2025, or actually 4 years, 2025, 6, 7, 8, still 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see that Naughty Dog game, you want to see Horizon Online.
Oh, dude, I want to see it so bad.
Oh, no. Don't be. Oh,
no. Anyway, so there's a lot still coming.
Real facts, top 3.
Top 3, probably Kingdom Come Deliverance. I'm excited for. I want to see that. Veilguard, I'm actually relatively interested in. I'm going to keep a close eye on that. And then probably AC Shadows. I think Star Wars Outlaws at this point, there's less intrigue because I'm more confident in that game based on what I've seen so far and what I've played. But Shadows, I still have a lot of questions. Kingdom Come Deliverance, I'm just flatly excited for. And then Veilguard, I also have like some questions. I want to know.
Yeah, I think that the things they're showing, like this game looks insane. So even exploring the worlds that they created will be a ton of fun, and the combat looks like a lot of fun. So I totally get why you have Dragon Age high up. For me, it would be Assassin's Creed Shadows, Black Myth Wukong, and between Outlaws and Dragon Age for like that third spot. But if I had to choose, I would probably go for Outlaws. I'm still like, I think, like, just especially these urban environments they showed, like going to a new planet for the first time, walking around there. I think that's going to be very, very cool.
Yeah. I'm excited. It seems big too. It seems like there's a lot there. So, as always, guys, awesome. I mean, there's going to be a lot more to talk about, hopefully, in the coming months. We're about to hit probably a bit of a dry spell through July. Next week, I'm going to be on vacation in... on nice. The lake. Last year we did a podcast episode while I was there, and the internet connection at the resort in the middle of nowhere was actually better than my internet connection at home, which I thought was pretty funny. But we can still probably do an episode of the show from there because I just like streaming and talking to Mr. Joe Raptor.
Okay, let me know. I am able to do it as well, so let me know.
Yeah, it'll be a good time. You all are wonderful. Thank you for hanging out with us. And here's to the rest of the year in gaming. Hopefully it's good. And
don't be a baby.
Yeah, don't don't be a baby. Just go buy a better console. Thank you everybody for watching. We love you dearly. We'll see you in the next one.
Goodbye.
Bye.
And then we have JKS guy goes, hey everyone.